values Indian culture and exploring nature, protecting nature through adventure. So we learn the courage, confidence, and commitments from her. Yes, yes, Vedangi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Vedangi, and in 2016, I moved from Pune in India to Bournemouth in the UK, which is along the south coast. Um, I'm here because in 2018, I became the youngest woman to have circumnavigated the world on bicycle. At the time, I was 19. So when I started, when I was at the start line, I was 19. When I had started preparing for this ride, I was only 18. And by the time I was finished with this ride, I was 20. And today, through some stories, I would like to speak a little bit about my understanding of nature through adventure. And first of all, I would like to say that my bike ride around the world in itself was a journey, was was a quest to find my place in nature. Um, my ride started in Australia. On day two of my ride, I found myself in the middle of a desert. It's called Nullarbor Desert. Huge open space. You wouldn't find proper civilization for hundreds of miles. And I was riding through there with facing east, the roads going in the same direction. Sometimes there would be tailwinds, and when the winds flipped, it was all in my head, and I was meant to ride 320 kilometers per day. So, with the winds, with the open space and no shelter, and with the sun shining over me just about all the time, it was a tough one, but it was beautiful because at one point there was Great Australian Bight on my right and a whole lot of nothing on my left. And that sight was just something else. And the journey continued towards the Great Australian Road, where there's actually like a good mountain range along the southeast of Australia. And again, there is an ocean on your right and mountains on your left. And an incident that I remember there was that I was being stalked by a vehicle for a very long time. And I was riding through the night, and I had called the police, and I was being very quiet about it because I was alone. There was nobody for miles and miles and miles. Um, the police told me that, look, we are very, very far from you, so we're going to try and come and save you. But if not, there is a forest to your left. You can just leave your bike and run into it and, just hide somewhere. Because of my mission and because of where I was going, what I was doing, the idea was to ride my bike around the world in the fastest time any woman ever has. So that was the mission at the time. So I chose not to do that. Um, but luckily, because of the twists and turns of the road, most of the time I was staying hidden by these stalkers all the way until the police caught them. And when the police did catch them, they found that they were armed. They had guns. They had a lot of bad stuff with them. So I was extremely lucky that I I truly found my place in nature there. And speaking of finding my place in nature, um, after New Zealand, the next country I went to, so Australia was great. Then I went to New Zealand and I only was there for like 4 days because I only cycled across the Northern Island. Then I flew to Canada. And the first big challenge in Canada was to ride my bike across Canadian Rockies and still maintain the mileage. Now, what I didn't realize that Canada, the Rockies, were facing one of the worst forest fires they have had for a very long time. So I ended up getting a lung infection and it was not going well. almost 3/4 way through my journey through Canadian Rockies, I had an incident which I don't think I can ever forget. Um, I was riding my bike up this huge mountain, and I was almost near to the end. And I was told, I was really scared of the bears, and I was told that I wouldn't find any by the highway that I was on. And I was on the main highway, so I should not have found any. But I looked to my right, and there is like a family of 3 grizzly bears. And I looked and I was like, no way, they're not going to do anything to me. They're huge, they're in their own place. They're not going to harm me. Well, what happened was that the bear, the biggest one of them, stood on his 2 legs, and I looked at it and I was like, that's really not good. I'm not in a good situation right now. I grabbed my bike and I was just riding as fast as I possibly could up this hill. And needless to say, it was approaching me. My bear spray was in my backpack, inside my hat, so nowhere close to accessible. And I was eating something, so I suppose that didn't really help the situation. Um, I was going up the hill, so if anything, the bear was going to be faster than me, however much I wanted to ride fast. And I had a spot tracker with me, which I sent an SOS signal through. Um, what happened next was that there was a huge lorry that came from the other side, and just in the nick of time, it was screeching its brakes, honking really loudly, and I almost got hit by it, but it was enough for the bear to be scared and run away. That incident truly taught me my place in nature. Next, in Iceland, the weather was stormy. When I say stormy, again, they were facing one of the worst storms they have in a long time. At the time, I was so determined to keep riding that I failed to realize that I was unable to see the cars. The headwind was almost 60 miles per hour. I was riding at probably 5 kilometers per hour speed. And eventually, because I couldn't see the cars couldn't see me, the only reason to stop was when I got hit by a minibus and I actually had to be carried back to the capital of the country in order to be told that, okay, we are we are not allowing any more people on this road because it's just too risky. Anyway, in Spain, I was mugged at knife point and I had a concussion. And the only thing that kept me going, kept me riding, kept me approaching my destination at that point was the sunrises, the sunsets, the moon rises, the moon sets. And I remember looking at these and literally asking for energy and hoping that I would get some energy from them and I would have just enough to keep going. And soon enough, I was in Russia. I was riding in snowy weather, really snowy conditions. It was beautiful. And then there was India. I had 5,000 kilometers in India. And I think the kindness of every single person that I met there, as well as the fact that everyone was so keen to help, it was beautiful, my ride across India. I also finished my 29,000 kilometers there. And eventually I got to my finish line, which was back in Australia. So 29,000 kilometers, 159 days, that is 5.5 months later, I was back in Australia. And if there was one thing that I had to highlight that I learned from it, was that through all these different terrains and through all the different stories and through everything that happened through this journey, I realized that I am nature. We are nature. Like, it isn't separate from us, it's all of us. And adventure just helps us understand our position within the wider context. And that is why it is so important. And that is why that's why I still choose to put myself in those positions where it isn't necessarily always safe, but it always helps me understand my position within the wider universe. Thank you.
So thank you, Vedangi. Thank you for your courage and confidence, the way you travel the world and the way the world has supported you and the way you are inspiring the world. You are role model who have who has the courage, because more than your strength or your courage, your confidence, and your determination, and that is the missing point of some of the young people. In modern time, the young people want to achieve success very easily, which is not possible. But the way you travel the world, you understood the world, and you explored the nature. So you can only imagine the joy of knowing nature, understanding nature, and being with nature. And nature is supreme God, and I think you have touched the every part of this planet, and you have understood the air, the water, the land, the sand, mud, and everything. I'm sure that these are the biggest educator that teaches us a lot. The challenges you faced in your entire journey will inspire many people to continue your struggle and face the challenges and win the challenges. So no challenge is uh, for anyone. So thank you for sharing your views.
धन्यवाद सर.